Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Ham and Spam Retro Review, the podcast where we like to review retro games, movies, TV shows, and everything in between.
Check us out on all the social medias, including Twitter, where you can find us at Ham and Spam Games, Instagram, which is also at Ham and Spam Games, Facebook at Ham and Spam, and even YouTube. Just search Ham and Spam Retro Review.
For more content, check out our friends Nick, Brandon, and also Clint on their podcast, Talk or Go Home.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy.
What is happening, Magnusites? Oh, wait, that's not us.
I can't believe you opened with that.
It's YouTube sensation Tyrone Magnus.
I don't think I know him. I don't watch near as much YouTube as you do, though.
Yeah, that's true.
So, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Ham and Spam Retro Review.
Yes.
Hammy, what's been going
on? I don't know how to answer that.
Well, it seems like you literally just left my house like just a couple hours ago.
Yeah. We watched WrestleMania Night 1 last night.
Pretty good. I give it a solid B+.
Really?
Yeah,
I got you. Yeah, I think so.
There's
too.
a couple of things there that I wasn't
there
too
were
keen on, but
there were a couple matches that were really good. The main event I thought was awesome.
I thought it was as well, especially that hair whip thing. Gosh almighty.
Yeah.
I'm sure Sasha Banks is not enjoying herself this morning.
Well, have you seen the behind the scenes footage after the match?
Not yet.
Like, she was just as happy for Bianca Belair as Bianca Belair was.
Well, they set a tone and a new standard for, women's wrestling, I believe.
Yeah.
And,
oh gosh, they had it was a bring the house down match too.
And here, how about this? WWE has not been the same since the pandemic started, and there's been no live fans. It is good to see live fans again,
and for them to put on that kind of performance, in front of live fans, they needed that,
and you could see how emotional they were, before the match,
even before it,
like even both of them, in today's wrestling where everything is, everybody knows everything's predetermined now, for Bianca Belair to have that kind of reaction, just even knowing you're going to win the match.
Well, I think it was more of she's worked hard to get to where she's at, and she's in the main event of WrestleMania.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's been a good year for her. I'm glad. I've been a fan of her since the NXT days.
She's growing on me. I'll have to say that.
The EST.
Yep.
Of WWE.
Of NXT.
WWE.
The other one rolls off the tongue better.
All right. Well, anyway.
For you people that don't do wrestling,
don't hablo español.
El Nino is Spanish for the Nino.
Anyway. All right. So, what we're reviewing?
Yes, we are set to talk about
what was going to be our episode 64.
Right. We talked about episode 64, so we really wanted it to be a Nintendo 64 game. And we had a couple that we thought about and a couple that we were like, this one kind of fits, but it doesn't. And kind of at the last minute this past week, we decided to go a different route. And
one of my favorites.
And today we're going to talk about Turok Dinosaur Hunter for the
Dinosaur Hunter.
I'm so glad you did that. It's well documented. I didn't have a Nintendo 64
really
coming up. Yeah. And I have not played that game. I've seen you play a lot.
I know why you're asking me. You lived your life, man.
Well, I haven't played this game. Somebody should really clear out the teleprompter. I'm reading it exactly as it's on there. Yeah, I didn't play this game because I didn't have a 64, but I do remember you talking about a lot about it.
Mm-hmm.
Seeds of Evil, you've made lots of references when we were playing this, was a little bit better. But
This one's still great. And
Yeah.
this was a pre-GoldenEye first-person shooter.
well,
For
obviously,
N64.
obviously so, because of the way they had the controllers.
We'll get to that. What I still have from my original copy on N64 is what I'm holding in my hands here, an instruction booklet. And can I just say that as far as instruction booklets go,
This is pretty BA.
This is a 10 out of 10. Fantastic. Gives you a little history of Turok at first. He was a comic book character introduced to the American public in 1954.
See, I didn't know that. You had told me that, and you said the only reason you knew it is from the instruction manual.
Yeah.
But I had no idea. And am I incorrect in saying that they're still doing the comic books?
You are. No, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I just ordered the first 3 volumes the other day because I thought, why haven't I done this yet? Because I was a huge Turok fan, man. I think that was another one that I can't remember if I was introduced to Turok through Jeremy or from some other means, but
That was Ryan. I remember Ryan playing this a lot.
I don't. I remember him playing
I remember him talking about
Super
it a lot.
Mario 64 and Shadows of the Empire a
Yeah.
lot. But this, I don't know. However, I came into contact with this, I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
To set it up, Turok is a Native American hero who is protecting Earth from being overrun by the Lost Land.
Land of the Lost.
Pretty much, which is a... Let's see how to explain this.
Hold up.
Yeah, basically it's a like another dimension, kind of.
Okay.
Where there's dinosaurs.
Where there's what?
Dinosaurs. And aliens and all kinds of abominations. And Turok is the one who keeps us safe from it. Now, Turok is a title, not a name. It's passed down
Right.
generation to generation through the same family. So the Turok in this game is not the Turok in the second game.
Kind of like Black Panther.
Even though the Turok featured on the game art is actually the Turok from Turok 2 instead of the Turok from this game.
Yeah, so that is awkward. You were explaining that to me, and I guess because of the way they pass the moniker down from one to the other, maybe somebody got their wires crossed. I don't know.
Whatever way, game is fantastic. Now, if you turn on the game, and I don't think, did you see the opening bit with the iguana?
Yes. The way I played the game was the quote unquote remastered version.
Oh yes.
And the iguana scene is a little bit different, but if it's any kind of harken back, are they throwing spears at the iguana?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they did this as well.
So it's a little comedic thing. Yes, you're right. Released originally 97 for N64. Now it's available on Xbox, Switch, I think probably PS4,
possibly,
and PC. So it's a air quotes remaster.
Right. Let's
clean
some stuff up.
They did, because in the original there was a lot of fog.
Right.
Because N64 couldn't really render all that far.
Right.
Which
kind of like PS1. We were playing, what was it, Driver, when we were reviewing Driver.
Kind of brings into question the joke. Why did the console player cross the road?
Because he couldn't see the other side?
To render the other side.
Oh, well, there you go.
But
I've never heard that, and that is like the cheesiest video game dad joke I've ever heard.
I love it. So yeah, it had the fog because it couldn't render too much, but it still looked pretty good for its time. Now Turok 2 took that to a new level, but that's discussion for a future episode, mayhaps. But now you jump into Turok, and you're just about immediately introduced to one of the most difficult, frustrating things about this game.
The monkeys.
Yes, the monkeys. No, the controls.
Yes.
Now, with the remastered version, you have modern controls, 2-stick layout.
Right, a 2-stick layout. With the 2-stick layout, it's like any other kind of video game, first-person shooter platformer.
Yeah.
Move with the left, look with the right.
Right. Correct.
Correct.
But in the original, you had you actually moved with the C buttons on the N64 controller.
And see, that is,
It's wild.
yeah,
You jumped with R on the shoulder.
right.
You looked around with the stick and shot with Z.
That's silly. And then what was it that you said L did? Oh, it's a map.
Yeah, the map.
Yeah, so you're like having to reach all the way back across the controller to pull the map up real quick because you're holding it with your left, assuming that you're holding it with your left hand.
And there was something else about Turok I didn't realize until we were playing and I had the option to turn it off, and that was the head bobbing.
Yeah.
Was that not like almost motion sickness inducing?
Well, it wasn't so much motion sickness inducing, but it kind of changed the way you moved a little bit. Like it would make you like move a little to the left and a little to the right, but never really in a straight line.
It's like you're.
How many times I fall off that log in the training?
Oh gosh, it took us forever to get past the training.
Well, and here's
just
the thing.
walking across the log.
And here's the thing: you were making fun of me and said, "All right, let me see it." You picked it up and fell off too. He's like, "Oh my gosh, 14-year-old me hates me right now."
Oh yeah, 14-year-old me would have definitely showed up because, I mean, there are some, control issues with the original game. You also had to do a diagonal jump,
right?
Which was somehow easier with those weird N64 controls. But I basically got good at it, I guess, because I played it so much. I mean, I've played through this game multiple times.
Well, like when we played through Siphon Filter, that was a game that had come out before the analog controls were really a popular thing with the PlayStation. So you had to kind of learn how to, with those strafe. They had a strafe button.
Oh yeah.
L1
R1.
L1 R1, right? So just with anything, you kind of get used to it. Whereas, like now, you can change your inverted x-axis.
Yeah.
Y-axis. Yeah. You can change your axis now. You can do some of the left and right as well. Not just up and down. But back in the day when you couldn't, you just got used to it. And Siphon Filter is one of those where you just had to get used to it.
And now we're a little spoiled, I think. Because every game...
A lot of spoiled.
Most games control about the same, if you think about it.
Yeah.
So.
They do. And see, but where did they make that transition from going from, inverted to standard on the y-axis?
Well, inverted was a lot of flying games.
Right. But I guess because a bunch of people played those games, they just kept it for X amount of time and said, let's give people
and I don't know,
a way of doing it.
I don't know when I really started. Like, I'm an inverted player.
And I'm not.
And I can't play not inverted. I don't know when that
but
happened.
I prefer not to.
See, I don't know when that happened. Did you know that on Xbox 360, you can go into the settings of the console
and make it your standard where it does it for everything? Yes.
I don't know why they didn't bring that back for future consoles.
I don't know. Unless it's like saved to your profile, and maybe it is.
It wasn't.
Okay.
Because as soon as I got my Xbox One, it's actually one of the first things I looked for.
Oh, really?
That and to make my keyboard QWERTY, which I think it started off. But anyway.
QWERTY.
Two things I had to do on my 360.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, these controls were going back. It's very hard to readjust to them. But then.
Yeah, you just picked up on it. Like, okay, this is the way it is. Let's go.
Then for future Turok games, they would swap to more GoldenEye-like controls. Another thing that was difficult about this game was the platforming.
Well, we kind of talked about a little bit about this game where it's a mixture of a lot of different games. So they've got these little triangle pieces. What are they actually called?
They're kind of like the coins in Mario.
Right.
You get 100 to get an extra life. And what's he do when he gets an extra life, Clint?
I am Turok.
Yes. Maybe not so much gusto, but yeah, that's when he gets an extra life. So you know you got it.
Well, I mean, it's like the only thing in the game where I don't guess there's really any speaking parts.
That's
in
the only
game.
dialogue in the game.
Outside of
I am Turok.
And the people getting shot. This has got to be a very, very close second of best video game character deaths, like after they're dead, next to
after siphon filter,
after siphon filter.
where you electrocute them with a taser and they just keep screaming
Forever.
and they're on fire. Yeah, this one, once you kill an enemy and they're dead, they're laying there. Before they despawn, you can hit them with an explosive and they'll go flying and still keep screaming.
Even after they're dead. So this game was a little weird too with the way that the respawn happened too, because like this really, really bright light would show up.
Yeah, it's like they're beamed down.
Right. I don't know if that's really talked about in the gameplay as far as the mechanic of it or not, but I guess it kind of, hey, this guy's getting ready to come back. Either we need to stay here and get ready to kill him again, or we need to get out of here before he gets back.
Yeah, they respawn pretty quickly. Still not as quickly as Far Cry 2, which was frustrating.
I have no idea.
Far Cry 2, you could like clear an outpost, turn around to like, look down the road, turn back, and the guys are already back.
Really?
It seemed like that.
Well, I know Call of Duty is like that too. Like if you don't advance in the game, there's just this wave upon wave of people that just keeps coming.
The only time I ever threw an Xbox 360 controller was trying to play World at War on Veteran, and these freaking enemies just kept respawning over and over and throwing infinite grenades at me. But more grenades were thrown at me in 30 minutes of that level than there were in the entire war.
I remember you saying that. And those are the old potato mashers too, weren't they?
I'll tell you what, they were effective. They had me pinned down.
So let's talk about some of the weapons that are in this game.
A few weapons, probably about a dozen weapons?
At least.
I have a list of them. How about that? And this handy dandy instruction booklet.
So you start off with your everyday knife.
Yeah.
Not very effective, but effective enough.
But it's cool because you're actually stabbing people. Now, I think it is important to bring up that this game was censored. And I know at least Germany.
Because, probably more than that.
Because you're killing humans for a lot of the
With blood. A
lot of blood. They changed them to robots in other countries. At least Germany. But yeah, you got the knife, the bow.
And the bow was fun. I mean, it's pretty standard, but there didn't seem to be a whole lot of drop. Like the gravity effect didn't take into consideration. So,
well, the bow, you also had the standard arrows and the tech arrows, which were explosive.
Right.
Those were sought after. Those were really good.
Yeah.
Especially if you play this game without cheats.
You okay there?
You have to look for a lot of different ammo. You're using all your entire, all of your weapons,
right?
Your entire arsenal all the time because you're constantly burning through ammo. Now that is another thing. This game is kind of difficult,
right?
And Little Hammy could not get past level 3.
Okay.
Until Little Hammy found the cheat codes.
So I think this is a good story. Tell us the story of how you came in contact with cheat codes.
I was at Food World.
Local grocery store.
Yes, grocery shop on my mom. Saw a tips and tricks book. Remember those?
I've still got some of them.
See, I didn't. My parents wouldn't buy them for me.
It's
like $3 or $4. Why wouldn't they spring that for me? So you know what I did? I would
did what everybody did. Either you memorize it.
I'd go over to my mom with her shopping list. Say, hey, write this down for me.
Yep. Up, up, down, down, left, right, left, right.
Now, the big cheat for Turok was NTHG, THD, GD, CRTD, TRK. That is forever ingrained in my memory.
See, and you and I were talking about it on the phone, and you spat it off like just from memory, like you said, it's forever etched in your brain, and that is pretty impressive. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, like I said, I needed the cheats because I couldn't get past level 3, and I didn't have a memory card.
Yeah,
for my N64 at the time, so I couldn't save.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if I got to level 3 and died, it really was game over because I turned N64 off. I start from scratch.
Wow.
So
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So I
forgot that they had the little memory cards in it.
Well, some games could save.
Yeah.
But there were some that couldn't, and this was one that couldn't.
I guess it just had too much to load up. And it's funny because you look at something like a Nintendo.
They couldn't even fit vowels on there, Clint. They could fit save files.
Well, you look at something like Mega Man 3 for an NES. I mean, at least it had a password system that said, okay, if you make it to this point, here's your password.
Yeah.
And it saved your lives, what power-ups you had, how much energy you had on those power-ups, things like that. So, you know, at least there was an out there. I guess it kind of manipulated the software to give you what you're supposed to have.
I know. Well, this, I had to get these cheat codes. So, yeah, I cheated to beat this game. Don't at me.
The last tips and tricks that I remember buying was like a super tips and tricks. And it had, if it didn't have every game they've ever done, it had almost all of them. So it had NES, SNES, Genesis, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, 64, all these different, Game Boy.
What were the other gaming magazines from back then? I know because you had tips and tricks. You had Nintendo Power.
Game Informer?
No, not Game Informer. Like, was it Game Pro?
Game Pro.
EGM? Electronics Gaming Monthly.
Okay. I'll take your word for
And
that
there
one.
were other ones I can't really remember, but when I was a kid, going to Food World with my mom.
Yeah, she'd take off to the produce section. We would all take off to the magazine section.
I spent a lot of time in the magazine section of multiple grocery stores.
That is where Food World was, where I used to get all my Sonic the Hedgehog comic books too.
Yeah, they did have comics.
Yep.
Man, what a great store.
Yeah. Too bad it didn't make
RIP.
it.
Yeah.
It is now not a Food World anymore. It's a Big Lots.
Okay.
Part of it's a Big Lots.
But gosh, man, kids nowadays, it's something else. They won't know.
No, there's nowadays. I mean, even when we were double checking everything, we went to the internet.
Yeah,
we didn't try to break out the old tips and tricks book, but
well, I've got here in my instruction book.
You do.
In the back, there's notes, and that was 14-year-old Hammy's handwriting.
Let's see that,
which is still more legible than Justin Williams.
And there's the Justin reference. Wow. Sure enough. RBN Smith with no I. What is that one?
I can't remember.
Sniffer with 2 R's and no I. SNFFRR.
Yeah, I may have actually taken this to the store and just written them verbatim at one point.
Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't.
But back to the
weapons. Back to the weapons.
Then you had the pistol, you had an assault rifle, which looks just like an AK-47. Shotgun, which oddly enough, you got after you got the automatic shotgun.
Why would you want to downgrade?
I you know what? I don't know. But the automatic shotgun with explosive rounds.
That's pretty much what you use almost the entire time.
Grenade launcher. The grenades were a little strange to shoot sometimes because they bounced. But if you hit an enemy directly, it would explode. The pulse rifle was cool. It's the one with the blue beams. Of course, the minigun was pretty fun. Yeah. The alien weapon, I didn't use too much. It could be funny because it shot like this. Imagine Reptile's energy ball for Mortal Kombat 2 for SNES. Like it shoots it real fast. It hits, and then a second later it explodes. So I would use that a lot of times to send corpses flying everywhere. Because even back then I thought it was hilarious. Quad rocket launcher.
You used it quite a bit. Oh, yeah. Sometimes anyway.
Then the particle accelerator. I know I didn't show it to you too much. Basically, you charge it up, hold down, you fire, and it like freezes them, and they start turning dark, and they got the little bolts around them, and they explode. Right. Now, this gun was the only thing that could kill the monkeys. You could not hurt the monkeys otherwise.
If I heard Hammy say, I don't have anything to kill the monkeys once, it was 100 times, because every time he turned around, he said, I don't have my particle accelerator handy to kill the monkey. I don't have it equipped. I can't kill the monkeys.
I was so disappointed because I like killing them.
Stupid monkeys.
Okay, let's see. The fusion cannon, which is something you get way late in the game, which is basically a nuke. And then, of course, the chronoceptor. And the chronoceptor, there's 8 pieces you got to collect to assemble it, scattered through all 8 levels, and it's primarily used for the final boss.
So the one thing that I thought was pretty cool about this was there was a hub,
Yeah,
in the middle of the game.
yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Um,
So there was no, other than that grenade launcher, there was no like grenades, or you couldn't throw your knife, or there's no real like not projectile weapons. That's not the right word, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, like explosive
Right.
projectile. Yeah. There'll be some more in Turok 2. You'll see
Okay.
when we get to it. Spoiler alert for a future episode. But you talked about the hub. We'll get to that. So the first level is called the hub.
Mhm.
Starts out, it's like a cliffside jungle kind of deal. Now, there's one thing. It's like it doesn't really feel like a jungle.
Right.
I mean, they were very limited with the hardware, of course.
Well, 97, the system came out in 95, late 95, early 96.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
I just wonder if they just really knew what it was capable of.
That's true.
Because once they figure out what it's capable of, they throw Turok 2 out there, and it's got a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like they haven't figured out exactly what they can and can't do, and how to push the system and things like that.
And I don't think Turok 2 used the expansion pack. I don't think. I have to go back and check. Anyway, it's a pretty standard, good little tutorial level. A little bit of platforming, enemies, a few puzzles. The game has puzzles, a lot of switches you got to hit to open passageways, portals. Now each level has the keys.
Right.
A different number of keys per level that open the stargates to two different levels. And this one, level 1, you get all the keys for 2 and 3. So when you get to the end of the level is when you get to the actual hub that you're talking about. And it's basically like it looks like a bunch of stargates arranged in a circle. And you have to find all the keys to open that portal.
Right. Each portal for each world.
And you can go to 2 or 3, whichever one you want to go to first.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. I like that concept because it's not actually open world.
But it's not actually linear either. Like,
Right.
You can kind of go in the order that you want as long as that gate is open.
Right. As long as it's available. And so it kind of gives you a little bit of, I think you made the comparison to Mega Man, right? Or some of the Mega Man.
Yeah,
games?
a little bit, because you could go in whatever order you wanted with the bosses. Now, obviously, there's not a predetermined way to do it, but there's an easier way of doing things, because once you get one power up in Mega Man, it makes the boss in the next one easier. So if you needed to get, I don't know, Gemini Man's power, because I know Mega Man 3 more than anybody else, or any of the other games. Maybe you got to get Snake Man to get Gemini Man. Maybe you got to get Gemini Man to get Needle Man. So I mean, it just makes the game a little easier if you go that route.
Mm-hmm. So and I like that when games do that. It's not necessarily completely linear,
right?
Kind of like the first Zelda or Breath of the Wild. How they let you go whichever way you want to go. You might have gone in a different route than I did. But in each level, you're trying to get the keys. Now, there's still cool stuff you get out of the levels. You find weapons. And of course, you're still trying to find the Chronoceptor piece. So you want that for the final boss. Because without it, it's going to be a lot harder.
Not impossible, just improbable.
Right. The second level is the jungle. And it's just about identical to level 1.
Right.
Same thing, just some platforming, some cool little huts you find, some trees. Some of the trees you can shoot down.
Right. You showed me that. That was neat to have backgrounds that were, responsive to some of the stuff you were doing.
I think there are a few different enemies.
And let's stick there for a minute, because we've brought it up a couple of times in the platforming. We said this was a mixture of several different games. You got your first person, you've got your action adventure, you've got your platforming. This game moves really weird to be a platformer.
Yeah.
And you're even telling me about one level where you could you thought you were platforming, but you were actually, if you didn't really realize where you were, you could jump to the wrong platform and you
Right.
force yourself to go all the way back to the start.
Yeah, you've got like probably 20 or 30 columns you got to
Right.
jump across to get to where you're going. But at the same time, you're jumping. Some of them are varying heights, and if you
Mhm.
don't watch, you can get to
when it's
column.
lower or too low that you can't jump to the next
Right.
one on. Yeah. So a little bit of a pig trail here. Would you call some of the stuff you do in Assassin's Creed, would that be technically that platforming? I don't consider it to be.
but I don't consider it not to be.
Right.
Yeah, it's a gray area.
Okay. Because obviously there were parts in this game that were absolutely platforming,
Oh yeah,
100%. But jumping from here to there, and a lot of that kind of stuff is kind of predetermined too in Assassin's Creed. So, just random pig trail question there.
no,
But
that's good. That's I never thought of it that way, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it could be taken either way with
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed,
okay.
but now the platforming and this, of course, with those weird controls.
Yeah, with the N64. I mean, thankfully we were able to play on the Xbox One back here in the lush Ham and Spam studio.
Sponsored by Bob's Big Buicks, but yeah, the platforming. Like I said, I got used to the controls. I guess it didn't really bother me.
Well, see, I bet too that whenever you were playing this game all the time, that you weren't really going back and forth between games, because you can fire up your Xbox or your PlayStation now, and you might have 100 to 200 games.
Right.
You can just move around on. Back in the day, where you had to buy physical copies, and you kind of depended on mom and dad to help out with some of them. They weren't going to buy a whole bunch of them anyway.
Yeah,
You only had 3 or 4 games you go back and forth in. If you beat the other 2, and this is the new one, then you're going to keep playing the new one. So you just kind of master the controls.
This was the third N64 game I owned.
See, exactly.
And I'd already conquered Diddy Kong Racing and Star Fox 64.
Well, Star Fox is a short game. Diddy Kong, you can play the story, but obviously the entire synopsis is racing.
I didn't have anyone to play with and only one controller. So
well, and I was going to say
no, I did have 2 controllers.
You did, yeah.
Yeah.
But because we would rent World Tour a whole lot, and we would play together. And
I forgot I got the blue controller.
Yep. But what I was saying was, like, you get kind of tired of playing a certain genre sometimes, and to me, kart racers can be that. After a little while, you just kind of get tired of, okay, I need to do something different.
They're really good as party games,
right?
Rather than sit down and play by yourself. But this game's also pretty generous with the checkpoints and the save spots.
It is. I will give you that much. But there was one time. Did you make it all the way to level 4 and hadn't? And no, I know we were skipping around some.
No, it was like halfway through level 2,
and you died.
Yeah,
and your last checkpoint was at level 1.
Yeah. Now, if I'd stopped at those little monuments where you save at, I would have started back there.
Yeah,
but because I learned my lesson from that one.
Yeah.
But some of the enemies, you got the humans, you got the velociraptors with horns on their head.
I'm gonna just go ahead and stop you right there. The enemies in this game were great. I loved them because you had just you got people, and you got people with guns and stuff. Then you got dinosaurs. But then we decide we're going to put lasers and shotguns and stuff on these velociraptors.
Oh, that would come later.
And
yeah, the first raptors you come across aren't armed.
Right.
They're not packing heat.
Yeah, well, yeah, they had arms.
You had some very annoying enemies. The leapers that were down in the caves.
Yeah. Yeah, if it wasn't for infinite ammo that we had turned on, then that might have been.
And you remember when I first showed them to us that this is one of the most annoying enemies in the game.
Right.
Like, I don't understand why they're so annoying. And by the end of our playthrough, you're like, I see why.
I 100% see why now.
The bugs were annoying.
Yeah.
They didn't really pose a huge threat. They just were relentless, man. And they kept bugging you. And then the flying giant dragonflies, they were the same. Like they didn't really pose a threat,
right?
But they could knock you off of a platform,
right? And then what was it the dragonflies you're talking about that would knock you back? The knockback damage was kind of would hurt, or was it the orb looking thing?
No, the big it's called a purlin.
Okay,
it's a massive like troll and they could still kill me. I found out, even though I was invincible, because they could hit you, knock you back,
And fall off.
and there were a few times they'd knock me off the map.
Wow.
So
Yeah. Well, let's
and they had a ranged attack, some kind of wrist laser.
well let's parlay that. They did have some power ups, I guess you could call them. So you had these things that you would run across. One of them you said was the invincibility, which is kind of berserker mode for Turok, I guess.
Spiritual invincibility.
Spiritual invincibility.
Made everything go rainbow colored, and everyone moved in slow motion for like
Also
30
known
seconds.
as LSD mode.
Yes. That's when Turok ate some mushrooms he wasn't supposed to eat.
But there was
Got
also
those
some stuff
edibles.
that you picked up, like jackets.
Oh, tech armor. It's
Tech
just basically
armor,
that body
yes.
armor from
Right.
GoldenEye.
Okay.
And all it really did is added more hit points to you.
Okay.
You could get backpacks that would increase your ammo capacity.
Mm-hmm. I did notice that it never really seemed like our ammo went up that much.
No, not until you would get that.
So, and obviously we had a cheat on, so we never ran out of ammo. But how exactly does that work? Like, can you only carry as many as you have a backpack for, or when it runs down, you can collect 2 or 3 out of this bunch that's here or something? I mean, how exactly does that work?
I mean, it just lets you carry more ammo.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's
Well, I know, like your health, like you could go all the way to like 250 on health.
yeah.
You start at 100, you
Didn't
get
it-
all the way up to 250.
Now you got up to 250 on health. Then you could also put on 4 pieces of tech armor, which added another 100. So technically, you're at 350.
Oh wow, okay.
There was also this thing. What was it called? Mortal wound, which you would get sometimes.
One hit kill kind of thing.
No, it raises his. It's what would raise his health.
Oh, okay.
Like, and you got that from killing stuff with your knife or your arrow, bow.
Okay, so if you stuck with your primitive stuff, you would get that a little bit more.
Right. So you'd start out at 100 health, but you kill something with it, and it would increase your health by 5 points. And that's how you get your health above 100.
Nice.
So then you got level 3,
which
changes things up a little bit.
Yeah, it changes the scenery just a little bit.
And it's the ancient city, and I dug this level because it was different. Because like I said, 1 and 2, they can run together a little bit for me. 3 was a change up. Trying to think if any new enemies are introduced on this one. I can't remember, but this one was a lot more like puzzles. Like, you would have areas you knew you had to get to, but it was walled off. So you'd have to take this other trail, end up at this switch, hit it. This is the one where we had the time switch,
Right.
which you could only, like, you had to hit the switch and you had 5 seconds?
5 seconds.
To beat this door. And the only way you could do it was the diagonal run. They were obsessed with this diagonal movement, which does not work in real life. I've tried.
You cannot make yourself faster by running diagonally.
And the diagonal running is a lot harder on modern controls than it was those crazy N64 controls. Strange.
I don't know. I guess without having to really just redo the whole entire game, there was really no way for them to change that on the quote unquote remaster.
Right. But you get through this level, and you get to the part that I kept getting stuck at. And that's where you've got to go across this massive chasm to get to this pyramid by platforming from
little bitty tile square.
Yeah, little square to square of varying sizes.
Yeah.
And I showed you what I would do back in the day is I'd turn the map on.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, the overlay, it's a transparent map that shows you, enemies, pickups, and most importantly, the outlines, those little tiny squares.
Right.
Now, I don't like what they've done with the remastered, the little symbol that your guy is on the map. It was different on the original.
Okay.
I swear it was different. It was, you were shaped just like a little V, just like everything else, but you were yellow instead of red or green. But I would use that, and I could see, okay, I can stop, because when you stop hitting the jump button, he just basically stops momentum.
Right. Which is not how life works.
No, it's not. And I've tried that too. But I could not. I would burn through all of my lives trying to do that platforming, and I could never do it.
You burned through a few yesterday too.
Oh yeah. When I got to it for the first time with code, just like at long last,
now I can see what the rest of this game is about.
And it still took me forever to do it. And it's weird too, because you remember I came to a spot later that was even more difficult platforming,
and you got through it with ease.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking. It's like muscle memory took over. I don't know.
Yeah, because you were just sitting there and you just went through it and you said, "Wait, I just did that my first try." First try.
So I'd like that you can get to the end of this. You climb this big pyramid, and there are a lot of parallels. Were there not a lot of parallels to Mortal Kombat in this? Like the scenery?
Well, I thought there was as well, with just the story arc, with the worlds kind of converging.
Yeah,
or however you want to call it. Yeah,
Lost Land and
didn't
Outworld.
Didn't Acclaim do the original Mortal Kombats?
They did.
So I wonder if maybe that's where some of that came from. Possibly.
Well, even possibly the music and just the assets they used, the set pieces, were very Mortal Kombat-esque. Night Wolf.
I was going to say Night Wolf. Yeah.
The final boss looks like Shao Kahn.
He does. Yeah.
So a lot of parallels too. Maybe that's another reason I loved it so much.
Could be. It kind of turned what you liked about Mortal Kombat and made it into a platforming adventure first-person shooter.
That was not called Sub-Zero. Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
But you get to this pyramid, you climb up to the top, and this is where you encounter your first boss. And what was his name? Do you remember? Time out for technical difficulties.
Shish Kebab. His name was Shish Kebab.
No. Long Hunter. So this guy, you get in this big arena, and a vehicle. It's like, holy crap, there's a vehicle in this game. A Hummer comes after you.
Right.
And will usually hit you right off the bat. I mean, he's just no guns, just trying to run you over. And usually it happens to spawn right behind you somehow. But then all you really got to do is stand still as it circles around you. But
just move the camera around and around and shoot.
But it's a bullet sponge, so you will have to move around because there's ammo that keeps respawning around the map, and health if you need it. You take it down. The second one pops out because he's got two vehicles.
Right, there were two because people can drive two vehicles at a time.
That's right. Take it down, and then the Long Hunter himself actually comes out. And his attacks involve a sweet roundhouse kick.
Because you had made the comment that all you can do is stab and guns, and then here he is with his roundhouse kicks and his black belt dojo.
Yeah, this karate, but he has a gun and he has these weird boomerangs he throws at you.
Yeah, it took a minute for you to get the boomerangs to be unlocked by him or whatever. I don't know how you call it, but I guess just a distance thing. Once you get so far away, that's his ranged attacks, I guess. I don't know.
I just remember him throwing those. I thought he was cool when I was a kid. I was like, I like his abilities. I wish I could do those.
It kind of reminded me of Crocodile Dundee.
I was thinking Captain Boomerang.
I don't know. Who is that?
Suicide Squad?
I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, he's a DC villain that throws boomerangs.
Perfect.
But you beat him, you get what you need from that level. Level 4 is the Ruins, which unfortunately is also kind of interchangeable with 3. They're very similar looking. This is the one with that jump puzzle you talked about earlier,
right?
But it was all right. It had that one spot, you remember, where the enemies were frozen like statues.
Yes.
And you run through them, hit a switch, and they come alive.
and they start battling each other.
That which was great.
Yeah, we sat there and watched them for a little while. What was it? Which one was it you said that you were surprised won?
The one that won was was it the? I think the Raptor.
Yeah, it was.
Well,
It was
the
the
Raptor and the Perlin were the last. They couldn't get to each other because the Perlin was stupid, got himself stuck. But I was surprised that the Shaman lost because they're powerful. They can take a pretty good beating and dish out a lot of damage.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing his range attacks. He just went to the close range trying to hit him with his scepter. Why do enemies do that in games, man?
Because they're not programmed to fight each other. So when they actually get around to fighting each other, they just close quarters.
It's like, dude, you brought your A game to our fight.
Right.
Now you're fighting this other thing and you're just dialing it in.
It's like they brought a knife to a gunfight.
Yeah, he did. A scepter to a velociraptor fight. But you get through this level. Level 5 is my favorite. So far in the game, Clint, what are you thinking about the assets, the set pieces and stuff?
A lot of palette swaps. Again, I think that it's, I don't know. It on paper it seems cool. The story's a little out there, but it's doable.
Like, and do you remember how some parts of the level would be different just because it's like they had a different filter?
Yeah.
Like one part would be the same assets, but like a red filter. Then you go to another part, it's like a green filter.
Right.
It was just enough to make it feel different.
Mm-hmm. Even though it's basically the same.
Yeah, it could have been the exact same.
Right.
And
that's why I'm saying just, texture swaps and palette changes. Mortal Kombat, Scorpion, Sub-Zero,
Right.
Reptile, they all look the same, have a few different moves from each other, but primarily you just change the color and that's what's different about them.
And that goes back to their hardware limitations.
Yes.
What they could and couldn't do. I mean, there was only so much space. I mean, what was the remaster, like 700 megs?
Yes.
I bet the original was way less than that.
Probably so.
But, and this is one of the games that is limited, but they did really well, I felt, within their limitations.
Mm-hmm.
They were good at stretching out what little they had and still keeping it somewhat fresh, not getting stale too quickly.
Right.
And so far, like I said, we've had 1 and 2, 3 and 4, which both, all 4 of those almost felt like just 2 big levels because of how similar they were.
Well, I kept calling I want to call them the ruins again. What'd you call it?
It was the Ancient City. Level 4
Ancient
was the
City,
ruins.
right. I kept calling it the ruins because
it's the same thing. Ancient City ruins.
Right.
And I don't know if they were meant to be that way or if that's just how it turned out. But level
I bet
5,
it was purpose.
Level 5 is where we start switching stuff up. Level 5 is my personal favorite, the catacombs.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost entirely underground in like these tombs. There's a lot of stuff you've never seen before. There are traps.
Right. Or the floor we give away.
Mm-hmm. The floor. Wait, no, not in this one. That was the later one.
Yeah, I'm too far ahead.
This is the one with the razor blades and the walls.
Yes.
This is one that has secret areas. Remember the skulls on the floor?
Where they would look at the wall and you could walk through the wall.
Right. And you find the secret area, which is harkening back to Doom.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Quake and original games like that. Wolfenstein. This
I love you for that.
This level actually kind of gave me nightmares when I was a kid. I would dream about it.
Really?
I would dream about being lost down in those catacombs with these creatures coming after me.
Wake up in a cold sweat and go, oh, thank God I'm in rural Alabama.
Yeah. Oh, Turok making Alabama look great.
Wow.
But no, this level, and it was unique because you can see very early on where you've got to go to progress the level, finish it. But it's this very long drop into a spiked pit.
Right.
Another Mortal Kombat.
Yep.
Parallel. And so the majority of the level is working your way around.
Flipping switches.
Yes,
to raise the water level, so when you jump down in the pit, it won't kill you.
Yeah, to get to a certain spot where you could jump off platform down to the switch and raise the water level, swim down there, get to the boss, who was the Mantis. On this one, and he was a cool boss. Starts off as a big statue. He breaks free, and he's busting through walls, and you're continuously having to dodge his acid spit.
Another callback.
And who did he look like?
Looked like Reptile.
Exactly. Reptile from that fantastic movie, Mortal Kombat, which came out in
95.
Yeah, I was going to say. I was thinking 97, but that was Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Yes.
I was going to say, what a coinky dink. But anyway.
I don't think Reptile wasn't in that one, was he?
Probably not.
He was Worms.
Yeah. But level 5 is my favorite, Catacombs. Like I said, this is where the levels start looking different. You're getting a little more diversity with your assets. I think this is the first level where you start getting the level 8 keys.
Yeah.
The next one is Treetop Village.
And I chuckle every time at that because I keep thinking of Donkey Kong.
Yeah, Treetop Town?
Treetop Town.
This was a really cool level. It starts off some pretty extreme platforming.
Very.
I mean, you're jumping heights. Like, you get to the edge of this landmass, and you just have to look for trees in the fog and jump to it. A lot of leaps of faith. That was the one. Do you remember that jump? I tried to do the diagonal jump to the land.
Yeah.
And I missed it. I was like, well, I'm dead.
But there was a platform that we didn't see.
I had no idea it was there. Landed on it.
Yep.
Even greater than I thought it was. And
I can roll over.
Yeah, and this one you first meet the aliens and those 4-legged dinosaurs, the Dimetrodons. Again, hey, little kid me would be so disappointed
that you don't know it's a Dimetrodon.
Yeah, because I was obsessed with fighter jets and dinosaurs.
Spikosaurus. There you go.
Let's go with that. Spikosaurus. Now I'm trying to think of what
you are. I can tell.
Anyway,
keep going.
But you get to this part where you can't progress any further. You're in a lake. There's aliens everywhere. And it's like, what do I do? And when I was a kid, I was legit like, I don't know what to do. And I looked up, and they could just make out these walkways up above the fog.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? How do I get up there? And you have to go to the bottom of this tree. You have to swim down under the roots of this massive tree, and there's a lift.
Inside of a tree.
Inside the tree, inside the hollowed out tree. How's it standing? To the Treetop Village. And it was a fun level. Like I said, it was different because you're basically in like a murderous Ewok village from that point on. Yeah, and this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time you see the elevator, because when you get deeper in the game, there's a lot of elevators. Oh yeah. That'll get you turned around too. Oh gosh, we're getting there. I know we're getting to your favorite part. Yes. I've waited this entire episode just for this part. You get down with level 6, you go to level 7, which is the Lost Land. That's what it's called. Even though you've basically been there the whole time. Right. This is like lava, desolate looking area, and it introduces us to a few new enemies. The demons are what they called, which are just, humans with different textures on them. Armed velociraptors. More aliens. Armed Dimetrodons, or what'd you call them? Spikosauruses that have guns on them. So Dr. Evil designed this level. Sharks are freaking laser beams. But most importantly, introduced us to your favorite enemy. Yes. Which is a Triceratops with a man on top. Yes. Firing missiles and bullets at you. And not only when you defeat this enemy, you don't necessarily defeat the guy that is riding the dinosaur. You just defeat the dinosaur. The dinosaur collapses, much like a funny Western film. Yeah. And rolls over on top of the guy who's screaming the entire time. Then that's what kills him. Oh, Clint was losing it.
I lost it when I saw that the
Oh
first
my
time.
God.
And
It
that's all
is
I wanted to
funny.
do after that.
It is funny. There were some really funny deaths in this.
Oh yeah.
That's a pretty dark thing to say.
I said it's number 2. It's got to be number 2 behind Siphon Filter for me.
and this level and this 7 and 8 run a little bit together because the first part of 8 is identical to 7.
The Technodrome.
Exactly. Technodrome. So you get to 8, the final confrontation, and after you've beaten 7, you've collected all the pieces for the level 8 key. Instead of its own Stargate, it's just a hole in the middle of the hub that you fall down into. There's a Stargate in there the whole time. And you get here and you start going into like this futuristic laboratory,
Technodrome.
the Technodrome, and you're fighting cyborgs and robots.
The aforementioned cyborgs that the German version had.
Exactly. And they've been seeing them the whole time, so they're like,
Well, this is nothing.
what is the big deal? It's the same enemy.
I'm choking on my Skittle. I can't believe you just did that. That is hilarious.
Oh man. Oh, I did fail to mention also that the Tremors were in level 7. We didn't see them on our playthrough though.
No, we didn't. We didn't because there was a lot of Trimmer jokes there that would kind of went by the wayside until after you told me, "Oh yeah, I didn't show you the Trimmer part." I was like, "What?"
Yeah. If you've ever seen Tremors, that's what the enemy looks like. Pops up from the ground.
Kevin Bacon.
Yada yada. But back to level 8. You're moving through the Technodrome, and it is extraordinarily complicated.
What would you call that? Maze worthy, I guess.
Very. And
a lot of elevators. So there's different levels, and there's some holes in the floor that you fall through, and it kind of makes you get turned around a little bit.
this is one that had the floors that you could fall through, much like in Mario 64 when you're trying to get to Bowser.
Yeah.
Had the laser traps.
Yeah.
Kind of cool. Had the where you fall in, I guess, like the sewage part. And it had like those sewer monsters.
Yeah, that was weird. See, now it's a Turtles game because we're in the Technodrome and sewer monsters.
I think that there was someone on the Turok team that worked really hard. Like, guys, I really worked hard on these enemies. Can we not put them in somewhere? It's like, okay. Make it like a sewage duct for level 8.
Just dig a moat.
You work your way through level 8, get to the boss. Now, you're going to have a boss followed immediately by another boss in this. Not exactly immediately, but
pretty much.
This first boss is a fire-breathing T-Rex that shoots lasers out of its eyes.
I didn't realize that was fire. Yeah. I didn't realize that it was fire that he was shooting out until you told me. I don't know what I thought it was.
It was like vomit.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. And I know that's
polygon
graphically, right? But it seems like it could have been brighter. It was a little dull colored.
Yeah. That will also walk up and try to melee you and all this stuff. You beat the T-Rex, it lets out its terrible death screech. Then you're beamed immediately to the next encounter. You go by all those guys hanging upside down.
Right.
All the skulls. I told you I used to like to shoot those guys because I felt like I was putting them out of their misery. I was a messed up kid.
So do you think all the skulls that have been scattered out are these people, the skulls of other people gone by,
of his enemies? Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, the campaigner, and that's the final boss.
What a name, by the way.
Yeah. How about that?
I mean,
the campaigner.
What in the Indiana Jones is going on here?
He's apparently just trying to take over everything. Turok stopping him. I don't know. I didn't pay attention.
He's taking all the little buddies and turn them into robots for world domination.
But it's going to be a serious fight because as you're on the hallway approaching where he's at, it gives you every gun in the game.
Yeah, because you made mention of that. But the one thing that it doesn't give you is your scepter.
The Chronoscepter.
Yes.
But if you've collected all the pieces, you have it. You have 3 shots in it.
Mm-hmm.
You open up.
Unless you cheat, you get a lot more.
Yeah, we get infinite then. You get to him, and he looks just like Shao Kahn.
Oh, 100%.
Except apparently he's a robot underneath. Did you notice that?
I did. I did.
That there's a lot of questions.
Well,
game.
I mean, this harkens back to Nintendo 64's, obsession with robots and brains. Not brains so much, but robots
Yeah, hands, giant hands.
and eyeballs.
But take down the the campaigner. You don't get treated to the same animation that you get treated to after each victory over a boss.
Right.
Some kind of weird Macarena dance looking. I don't know. Turok did some weird stuff.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. You know how like when as you're doing it, you know how like when karate guys, whenever they win a match, they'll kind of do this little thing and just yeah, whatever.
Only karate match I've ever watched was Karate Kid.
Well, he used an illegal kick. So anyway,
Rudy was offsides.
And I don't know where else I'm going with that.
So, and then Turok runs down the fiery hallway because for whatever reason, every boss in a video game has like their life tied to their base blowing up. Like the self-destruct sequence is set for his defeat.
It's like this has happened in every other boss fight. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen here.
So you kill him, everything starts exploding for whatever reason. Turok just jumps out like that scene from The Fugitive, that pipe into the water, looks back up, and that's the game. Credits roll.
Yeah, and you told me on the 64 version, it gets to that and it just goes game over.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing else. Like at least this had credit rolls.
Well, it did in N64 version.
Oh,
It just
okay.
said game over as well. It said game over. Here's the credits. Congratulations. Wait, did I win or lose?
Exactly.
Now, something I will say about this game, the music was absolutely fantastic.
For a cartridge style game, I thought it was good. It fit the bill. It really did.
It was catchy. It was very appropriate for game fighting dinosaurs.
A lot of jungle themes.
You know, a part of me when I was little was a little disappointed that I didn't hunt more dinosaurs in this game.
Yeah, well, it didn't seem like there was a whole lot though.
You had raptors,
The T-Rex, the Stegosaurus, or Spikosaurus,
yeah,
and the Triceratops.
mm-hmm.
Is that it?
That's it.
For a game to be called Dinosaur Hunter, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So, I don't know if they did a remake of this, Clint. What would you want to see in it?
More dinosaurs.
Amen.
If they did a remake, I would feel like they would need to do some palette swaps with the levels to make them distinguish one from the other.
But would you want a complete remake or
Yes.
something of a reboot? Maybe change some things.
Well, if you're going to reboot it, that means you've got plans for it to do more in the future. So, I mean, you've already got 2 and 3. I mean, you're already dealing with dimensions and I guess some sort of time travel and all that. So, I mean, it would be possible to reboot it. So, yeah, I would probably say reboot it. Call it Turok 4, whatever.
Well, I would like to see
Turok a new beginning.
I would like to see the jungle look like an actual jungle.
Yeah.
Something they talk about in the instruction
Not the
booklet.
Green Hill Zone.
Yeah. They talk about the instruction booklet. You can hunt deer and boar for more health. They just pop up in your way and you shoot them and health pops out.
Yeah, but you have to be really careful what you shoot them with because you shoot them with the primitive stuff, you get more health
Right.
out of them. Well,
you hit them with a missile launcher, you can get one piece of health.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's kind of like Oregon Trail. It's like you shot it too much and didn't get enough meat out of it.
Right.
So now I would like to see. I mean, I know it's easy to say open world, but honestly, I would rather have what they did. I'd rather have 8 sandboxes connected to a central hub that you can go back and forth whenever you want. Because you can in this at any point when you get back to the hub, you can go back to level 4.
Well, I'm sure like
level 7.
The reason for that is because maybe you forgot a key, and obviously the scepter,
right? To get all pieces of the chrono scepter,
right?
So it gives you a little bit of freedom with that. But I would want that. But I would like, maybe each level has like a T-Rex or a giant predator that you can avoid if you can't fight it.
Well, I think another thing too is a game like this, if you're going to have so much platforming and first person
I would
shooting,
throw
and
out the platforming if I was doing the
I would cut
reboot.
back on it severely. Now, if it was more like rock ledges or something, maybe.
Well,
But the actual, like, you jump from this square to this square to this square.
oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, that would have to
Like
go.
Doom Eternal did platforming very well.
Yeah. But I also think that if you I think every level needs a boss of some sort.
I
You
agree.
don't have a boss in every one of these levels.
You don't.
If you're gonna keep it, platforming first person shooter, put a boss. Make it a dinosaur, and then there you've added all your dinosaurs.
Now, how would you make it more like Halo, where you've got your set weapons, or like this was with your set weapons, or would you do almost like a looter shooter where you got a chance of picking up a better weapon with different stats?
Looter shooter. Now, I know, like in Siphon Filter, they have. Gosh, almighty, we've referenced Siphon Filter so much in this
Not
game.
enough, I think.
Probably. Siphon Filter, you have a set number or set weapons list per level. So, for instance, like the grenade launcher might not be available in level 1, but it is available in level 2. So, that's where I would go. But at the same time, you almost want to do where you can take a weapon from one stage to the other.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that.
I mean, I think what they had and this was pretty good. If you start getting into looter shooters too much, of course, it's going to be an RPG. Introduce RPG elements, and as much as I like games like that, I appreciate what they did with Doom and keeping the spirit
Right.
of the originals, and I would like to see that with Turok. So, maybe not so much the looter shooter, but definitely add more weapons. Maybe add things you can customize with the weapons.
Yeah. I would like to see like some sort of combination of weapons. I
Yeah.
think that would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree.
They had your regular shotgun versus your exploding rounds, something along those lines. Like an exploding arrow. Well, they had an exploding arrow, didn't
Yeah.
they? Yeah, never mind.
Maybe, different kinds of arrows. You get fire arrows and
Right. Boomerangs. They need boomerangs.
Plus, when I think Dinosaur Hunter, I think maybe some stealth elements.
Yeah, that would be neat if you could be able to kind of sneak around a little bit, get around the dinosaur, because you don't, maybe you have a moral compass about yourself.
I don't.
Well, some people do when they play. They give themselves these little tasks like don't kill any dinosaurs,
Yeah.
or Jurassic Park 2. Okay.
What's that counter for? I don't know, but we're about at 0. I think we're gonna win. You killed too many dinosaurs.
Game over. Oh my goodness.
They threw themselves in front of our bullets, I swear.
I was trying to shoot Hammy. Hammy was trying to shoot me. I can't help what happened with them.
Maybe it'd be something like you get this big T-Rex. It's like instead of killing it outright, maybe you can lure it to a camp of or a big group of enemies and have it just rampage through them.
Or even something like that. Or maybe, I don't know. Maybe you can talk to the dinosaurs and they can help you or something. I don't know.
I know one of the funniest things that ever happened on Far Cry 4 for me was I came up on a camp of enemies and just randomly an elephant walked into their camp and killed every one of them for me.
Did you name him Stampy?
I shot him afterwards.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you give him some sort of reward, maybe there's like, super big gun or something. I don't know, for not killing any dinosaurs minus the bosses or something.
Almost like the unlocking the cheats on GoldenEye. Remember, you had to beat levels in certain times and certain conditions.
Right.
I don't know.
That'd be neat. It would add some replayability to the game a little bit.
I would just like.
I think this game does suffer from that. Once you beat it, it's over. And that and the controller layout, but they've fixed the controller layout now that there's two stick layouts everywhere now. But yeah, the replayability of this kind of is lacking for some reason.
Yeah, I really would like to see them revisit Turok in some capacity at some point, because the last little Turok game for 360 just that wasn't it.
It didn't scratch that itch.
It did not.
Kind of like the Banjo Kazooie nuts and bolts. It didn't scratch that itch, and we don't really consider that.
No, that was unfortunate. But I love this game. I still enjoy playing it to this day. It's a lot of fun.
Well, and I think that one of the things, do we mention the comic book in the back of the
I don't think so. And that's another great thing. Came with a comic book in the back of the instruction.
Well, the comic book set up too.
It did,
and that's why I wanted to put it here mention it here at the end. Was it set up Seeds of Evil through the comic book, before you even turn the game on.
Yeah, what introduced the Turok from Turok 2, working with the Turok from Turok 1. So,
as you're looking through the comic book right now,
it's like, man, why do they take instruction booklets from us?
I don't know. I don't know why you can't have a PDF file of an instruction booklet. I think that would be somewhat neat. Like if you download music off of iTunes, you still can get the box art.
Well, if you notice, the game cases still come with the little slots where you put an instruction booklet.
And it's blank.
Yeah. Whatever.
I haven't bought physical media in so long. It's
I was thinking of going all digital, but after Sony announced that they were shutting down the Vita store, PSP store, and PS3 store,
yeah,
it's like at some point you're not going to have access to these games. I mean, at some point in the future,
you're right.
We won't have access to our Game Pass, our digital library.
Yeah, but maybe that's why they have wanted to go to this Game Pass thing now.
Maybe they'll keep it up.
Well, no, I'm saying the Game Pass is all this stuff gets recycled. They pull old stuff out, put new stuff in. As long as you have that, you're always going to be up to date. You're always going to have these games. But when we decided to pull them, we're just going to pull them. Mm-hmm. That way, you're not buying the game anymore. You're buying the service. If you want the game, you got to buy the game. But then you told me about the PS3. The battery inside of it, that if it goes bad, that it's got to connect to the store to be able to load up your old games. And if there's no store to connect to, essentially you can't use PlayStation 3 anymore.
Yeah, PS3s are a
dying breed,
ticking time bomb of failure.
I know why I bought my 360 first, but I don't know what I'm going to do. I'd still, hopefully they put something out where we can play Metal Gear Solid 4.
One of the answers to all that problem would be backwards compatibility, and Sony is firmly against it for whatever reason.
Well, they did it in PlayStation 2, and look how successful PlayStation 2 was. Yeah.
And they had it to a degree in PS3, but then they patched it out. Did you know that?
I've heard that.
PS4 has no backwards compatibility outside of what you buy through that store. Now, PS5 has full backwards compatibility with 4.
But nothing else.
Right. So, I don't know. I think Sony's answer is to keep remaking and charging you, because the rumor now is that they're remaking The Last of Us already.
Why?
Because people will buy it.
No offense. I know it's your precious Nintendo, but that's kind of what they do with their stores.
What do you mean?
They'll release it on a new system and make you rebuy an old game again.
Yeah. So that's why I think the online thing is
revolutionary.
Yeah. And that was the virtual console. I know a lot of people were all for the virtual console, but dude, there's only so many times I'm willing to buy Super Mario World.
Right.
And plus, the virtual console made indie games not sell on Nintendo platforms. Because how are you going to compete with these games that everyone wants? So I'm all for the online service they've got. I wish that they would bring it up to speed with what the virtual console was, but at the same time, there's licensing issues. There's getting it, or just making it work with the whole rewind system.
Well, with the rewind, without the rewind, that's neither here nor there for me. I think that if you're going to have a virtual console, it needs to work through all the systems that you want it to work with, but it also needs to be able to be worked with the newer systems as they come out as well.
Right. Instead of a separate one for the Wii and 3DS, it needs to be one universal
thing.
which is what they were not doing with the virtual console.
No. At least with the store with the Xbox, the Xbox One and 360 at that point, because they ended up backwards compatibility in a lot of the 360 games. You got the backwards compatibility there, but then when you transfer that file over to your Xbox One X or Xbox Series X, it'll still work. Like when I finally got, when we got our Xbox Series X, I literally just took my hard drive from my One, put it with my Series X, started it up, and I had all my games in that to re-download them or anything.
Which is awesome because it saves you time and money. And it's,
it saves you about 4 days worth of downloading here in Alabama.
And it promotes game preservation.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, Sony seems to be against that.
Well,
their president had some pretty disparaging remarks about retro games.
Well, and I don't want to, I don't want to get it back into that. I mean, I don't want people to think that that is my system of choice. It is. And it's just, hey, once you started going down this road, I've never went back. It's not for any particular reason. It's just, I guess, preference now. But, I don't want to be accused of being an Xbox fanboy either. I'm not. There's some things that they do wrong. There's a lot of things they do wrong, but.
Well, I'm a retro gaming fanboy.
There you go. Then to make it an easier way for us to play all of our retro games.
Yeah.
Licensing be damned.
Unfortunately, it looks like emulation is the best thing, and that's not always dependable.
Right. Is emulation is the only way, but that's not always dependable.
Yeah, no, sometimes it's terrible. Sometimes there's like a huge like discrepancy between the controls and what's happening with the emulators. You ever seen that?
Yes.
That's just anyway, neither here nor there. Turok Dinosaur Hunter.
Good game. I liked it.
Classic.
I can't wait to play the second one because you told me how much better it is.
Oh,
and I like this one. I did enjoy this one.
Like I said, it's available on modern platforms.
I do kind of wish I would have played this with the.
I wish this was on Game Pass.
Yeah, I do wish I was able to play this on 64.
I'll bring it over sometime.
Yeah, bring it over. Now you said they fixed some of the controller issues with 2, right? Made it more modernized, where
right.
like left
more
is
like
one.
GoldenEye.
Yeah. Was it GoldenEye we were talking about that day where you could use the 2 separate controllers?
Yeah.
And make it more like a 2-stick layout?
Yeah. They were ahead of their time and didn't know it.
And had no idea, although you had to buy 2 controllers to do it. So, all right. Well, great game. Do we want
to announce that?
That's where I was getting to.
Yeah.
With our busy schedules, Clint's busy schedule.
Yeah.
Hammy and I have kind of discussed maybe kind of splitting the year up into seasons.
Mm-hmm.
However that's going to be numbered, we'll get into that as it comes forward. But we wanted to get to a good stopping point for this season, or this time. Take a little break. During our break, play some games, record where we can. And then come the fall, when I'm going to be at my busiest, release these on a weekly basis. So, have 15 episodes or so stocked up in the library, and then release them on a weekly basis for you guys. It doesn't mean Ham and Spam's going away forever. It just means we're going to take a little bit of a break.
Be back in August?
Yeah, we're going to come back in August. So we've got this week that's going to be live, and we got next week, which is going to be live. And then we're going to go on a little bit of a hiatus and basically get ready for our busy time. That way we can put some stuff out. So,
yeah. So this episode, 64, 65 will be our quote unquote season finale.
We're going to call this season 3. This has been 15 episodes. So this is episode 14. Next week will be episode 15. And that'll be the ends of season 3.
But I think this is a huge benefit because it's going to allow us more time to play the games.
Right.
To really put together, because now it's kind of hectic because we got to figure out time during the week. We got to actually play the game, get together, record.
Right.
This method, it's like, let's play this game, then we can record, and then we can play another game, and we're not held by a very strict
time
Right.
time requirements, time restraints. So that's the plan. We could throw some bonus episodes out there if we just kind of get together and we want to talk about something. If some big news comes out, we got E3. We kind of said we might
Should be back.
Yeah, it's virtual, but it's back. So I mean, that's something. Kind of looking forward to that.
We might do something for that.
Yeah,
Maybe at the end of it. Maybe a recap.
Nothing special, but we are next month is technically our 2-year anniversary. So, I guess happy early anniversary to us on that.
Yay!
Can't believe we made it 2 years and almost 80 something episodes or whatever this is. 65 episodes. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's better for us. I think it's better for the show because we don't want to put out just content that's terrible.
Yeah, because like Clint said, he's about to get super busy because he's coaching 14 different sports. And I think we would our quality would suffer a lot trying to do, because when we went to the once every other week format, that was because of the same reason.
Right.
And this way we're able to still kind of go at our own pace to make the quality better.
Right.
So,
and it's not that we don't love playing these video games, we just run out of time.
It's life.
Yeah. Unfortunately it is. I mean, it's hard, if we didn't have real jobs where this is what we did on for our income on a day-to-day basis, that would probably be one thing, but trust me, there's enough of those people out there. We're not going to make any money at it. There's people out there way more entertaining than we are.
Yeah, it's not about money. I just like doing this for fun. And
oh yes,
but at the same time, I want to put out something that's good.
But also, there's that burnout factor because if you keep trying to burn your candle at both ends, sometimes you're going to burn yourself out, and you're just going to end up where you hate it. And honestly, I think we were almost at that point one time before, and I don't want to get back there again.
So. Little hiatus, but expect us back. For next week's episode, but also for August.
Yeah, the month of August, and we've kind of I think already got most everything planned out. But the one thing that we are going to bring back during that is going to be the scary game,
Halloween.
We got to figure out what we're going to call that.
Shocktober.
I think that's copyrighted, but okay, we'll call it that. So yeah, we know of. October's got five Sundays, so that's 5 weeks. That's going to be 5 Halloween themed episodes from Ham and Spam, 4 games and 1 movie, right?
I'm very excited for that.
So, I think we've talked about some more reprise episodes where we didn't get a good enough time to actually play through the game like we wanted to.
And I'm really happy with the 2 reprises we've had so far.
Yes, I am too, and the downloads have been great. That's the only bad thing about taking a break is, you're worried about being forgotten, but TV does it all the time. Why can't we?
Yeah.
Because we're bigger than TV and we can get by with that. So anyway, we just want to give you guys a heads up and, expect, one more episode for this season next week, and hopefully it'll be a doozy.
Mayhaps.
All right, guys. Until next week, we will see you then. Thanks.
1 million subscribers. Woo! That was another Tyrone Magnus. I'm sorry, Tyrone. I know you're a passionate fan of the podcast, but all right, we'll see you.
The minute.